So if you're trying to make money over hearing your soul, you're going to not only lose your soul, but go broke in the process. The spiritual bank account. That when we do our truest self, when we are meditating, when we connect, when we sit in nature, imagine you're making a deposit to feel that you're loved. And the consciousness now is expansion over connection. You can have friends, but they got to be expanding too. Obviously, we are supposed to be connected fully to Source. That's our home. And then we were just absolutely conditioned out of it.
You know, I think the greatest comedy writer of all time is God. You know?
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of humor.
We're surrendering our constant, I know what's coming, but we're trading it for God take over.
I'd like to welcome back to the show, returning champion, Kyle Cease. How you doing, Kyle?
We've returned 2 or 3 times, bud.
I think you have, but this is your second time here in the studio, which you're one of the rare guests who've come back in the studio, because we've only been doing in studio for less than a year now. So, welcome back, sir.
I'm honored to be here, man. I'm grateful for you. It looks like we're working on a bunch of stuff together.
Yes, you know, you've been amazing with us in the sense that we opened up Next Level Soul TV, and I reached out to you. I'm like, hey man, I want to promote what you're doing. I want to promote the teachings and what you're doing and the energy that you're doing. I want to support it. And I go, do you want to be a part of Next Level Soul TV? And you're like, absolutely, let's figure it out. And then, you know, we were able to put Love Rising on there as this conversation probably limited. The Limitation Game is another event that you did that's going to be on there. We have some meditations that you did as well. And one of the things we're going to be talking about today is The Illusion of Money as well, which is your amazing documentary that we have on the platform. So we're very blessed and very honored to be the home for a lot of this stuff, for people to see you. Not that you need our light on you, because you're large in your own right, but it's I want whatever we can bring, whatever good energy we can bring to your world. That's my goal, because when I find someone that's really doing good stuff in the world, I want to support it. That's why we're doing this show. That's why we spotlight so many people on the show to kind of help them get their word out.
Well, I'm honored to have your help, and I'm honored to support you too, man, because I think you're doing great stuff. And, you know, it's a weird thing how there's a vibration of competition and there's a vibration of collaboration, you know. And there's no harm in taking some of our stuff that we had made in the past that I'm very proud of and just handing it over and going, wow, more eyes will see this. The more I do this work, the higher I go up. This sounds weird, but the less I'm about what am I getting at all. And I'm really enjoying just going, okay, here, like, just do this, because this came through me, and who am I to get in between this thing that's coming through and the person that's receiving it and be like, what do I get for this? It's just like none of my business, really. And the higher you go up, the more you're just like, you know, I'm able to constantly create. You know, I offer anyone watching, remember, you're a creator, you know, and you have the original in you that can print so many unique ideas constantly, ongoingly. So it's fun to take some stuff that we've done that were huge hit things and awesome and go, yeah, let's put them on your platform and then make new things and, you know, do more with you guys. And just remember that we're creators more than consumers. And when we're more on the consumer side, we are in pain. We're always wanting more. We're always feeling unseen. It's always not enough. And I just believe that's not why we're on this planet. And I think that we really stress trying constantly to get, and get just as a constant, I'm in lack. And the more you go up, the less stuff you need, which means, like, weirdly, the less you're spending on things, the less addicted you are, the less you want to have. And you're just more wanting that connection with God. I have found for myself that I'm really enjoying getting closer to Source by removing external old addictions, things that just didn't align. You know, I haven't had a drink in over a year. I meditate 2 hours every day. And this will sound weird, but I even, you know, it's a weird thing to say in our world, but like I found that removing caffeine has really shifted me, because for me, I noticed that caffeine is really helpful at helping me do things that I think I have to do, but deep down don't want to do, right? Like it'll help me go to that party that I might be scared to miss out on. And it'll help me, it can help a person go to a job they hate. But I found that by removing it and going through all the withdrawals, I'm directly connected with source more. And I find that my boundaries to the world are very easy. No, I'm going to sleep because I didn't have coffee. So I'm connecting. But the more I boundary myself from a lot of things in the physical realm that are not tends to my soul, the closer I'm getting to my soul. And it's really such an amazing experience to have. And it turns out that it has higher level ideas and next steps and better things and healing and deeper sleep and so many things.
I have to tell you, this is also one of the reasons why I invited you to come to the Ascension Conference that we're having in March as one of our guest speakers, because your style of spiritual teaching and evolution and transformation is unique in the space. Because of your comedy background and the way you deliver. When I watch Love Rising and I'm sitting there and I'm laughing, there's someone like going through a lot of pain on stage, but you're helping them get through it with laughter and your jokes and your stand-up, that stand-up comic sensibility you have. Because I think the greatest comedy writer of all time is God.
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of humor, and from what I understand, from a lot of near-death experiencers and people who have been on the other side and come back, or either from psychic mediums, or even, there's a lot of humor on the other side.
Yes.
There's a lot of joke. Robin Williams is on the other side, so there's someone laughing.
Yeah. Well, do you notice that we often, when people go on YouTube or TikTok or whatever, they're looking for a lot of things that are in the moment. Hecklers, fail compilations, they want spontaneity.
Yeah.
And what happens in the now is much more God than what happens planned, right?
Absolutely.
And one thing that also I do with my events, aside from sometimes it comes out and will make you feel emotions of sadness, but also laughter. And, they're both releasing to me. Another aspect of me is that I can't, like anyone that's worked with me will tell you, I can't plan one thing. Like I'll do a 6-day event and there isn't one bullet point.
Yeah, I heard that from Aaron Abgear.
Yes.
He's like, I was just at his event. I didn't know what to do. He's like, just go out there. We're going to do that. Let's go.
We'll
figure it out along the way.
Yeah, we did an event called The Big One that with Aaron. And here's the funny thing is like, if you go talk to a friend at dinner, you don't have a set list. No. And you could talk for 2-3 hours, right?
Right, like here.
Right here, right? And so it's interesting because when I go on stage, I start, and whatever I'm feeling, I start saying, and then usually a lesson starts forming about that. But what Evolving Out Loud is, that's what my events are called. I'm coaching myself. Yes. Because have you ever given someone advice and then you learned from the advice you gave them?
Absolutely.
Sometimes we give people advice that they're not even asking. Someone will be like, I'm starving. And you're like, I think you should break up with her. And they're like, I'm single. And you're like, okay, this is for me. And you start to realize there's two me's, right?
Yeah.
There's a me that knows what to do and tells you something. And then there's a me that learned from what I said. So there's two me's, and that one that knows, I want to connect to that. And the one that learns from that, if he follows the teachings of the higher self, starts to merge into the higher self. Like the smaller self dissolves when you honor the higher self. It's a really interesting thing, because the more I do this work, the more I go, I must be the higher self, because the lower, smaller self keeps dying, and the one that feels limitation keeps dying every time I honor my true self. So when I actually connect to my soul, you start to realize maybe the higher self is you, and the lower self is an egoic construct that was conditioned out of trauma that's here dissolving as you follow the higher. So the longer my events go, the better they get, because the more and more the lower self starts to dissolve and the source is just speaking through fully, directly.
But the thing that's brilliant about this, Kyle, and this is why so many people are terrified by this, is that you are a stand-up comic.
Yes.
By by training, by heart, by soul, you came up as a stand-up.
Yeah.
We know a lot of mutual friends. I've been around stand-ups for the last 15 years.
Yes.
And I've worked at the highest levels with some of them. The ability that a stand-up has
Yes.
to just co-op and let's just go.
Yes.
On the edge, on the moment. They live on the edge. You're bringing, they live on the edge.
Yeah.
You're like, I've been at the Comedy Store. I've sat there and I watched somebody come up, a friend of mine come up, and I heard his set before. He comes up and I'm just like, that wasn't the set we talked about. And and he's just going, he's riffing.
Yeah.
He's riffing off someone in the crowd. He's riffing off of this. And it's being on that edge, and that's the magic. You're bringing that sensibility to spiritual transformation, which is, it's terrifying to go in front of thousands of people and go, I don't know what we're going to do today. Let's go.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, it's an interesting thing because, if I enter the spiritual space and ask, what do they already do in the spiritual space? I'm not going to bring my uniqueness to it. And I think that there's a funny thing that we feel in spirituality that, like, you got to be really serious. And this is such a serious thing. And people think that we are mortal and everything's a big deal. And I think we're immortal and it's not a big deal. Right? Like, you just get that you're an infinite being and that's normal. But, like, we don't have to do this so seriously, because the amount of times that I've been at a meditation retreat when I started doing this inner work or a spiritual speaker, and I'll say a riff that's funny, and then the teacher will be like, please stop. We're trying to be happy. And no, you're not, And
you should bring a fart machine to those things.
And also,
like in the middle of everyone trying to
well, and another thing, right?
You should absolutely, and you should get upset. Who did that?
It was you, Eckhart. I farted now. I'm assuming he would say now after.
Obviously, because
because it's his branding.
It's his branding. He's in
he never would say I farted a minute ago.
Why?
He's like, because he doesn't even know about it. If it's in the past, he doesn't know. Dude, I did a set in front of him and Jim Carrey at an event in 10 or 11. Yeah. And I ad-libbed a set about that because I looked in the audience and I see Jim Carrey and Eckhart Tolle in the fourth row or so. Yeah. And I said, this is really weird to me because I'm told I'm what would happen if Jim Carrey and Eckhart Tolle had a baby. And I said, I don't know if you guys are picturing that. Eckhart, I know you're not because it's a thought and you don't have those. And then I said, some of you guys might think that joke was offensive, but it's in the past, so Eckhart doesn't even know about it. And this like spiritual stand-up was like birthing right there. And they loved it. It was great. And that was an interesting experience.
Did they both laughed?
Oh, they were laughing and hanging with me afterwards.
Oh,
and
awesome.
It was amazing. And I learned so much from that because I literally was bringing me into this, all of me. And it formed around that. And this happened when I did the movie 10 Things I Hate About You. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I had no headshot. I had no resume. I had no experience, right?
Right.
But I was oblivious to that was a problem. And when I walked into the audition, I brought my character. I brought my cheesy guy. I brought this guy that would go after everything and booked like a ton of commercials with that face and a lot of TV appearances. And what was amazing was I hadn't yet taken any acting class that told me something like, you're going to have the lines down and you need to take this seriously and you need to whatever. Because I hadn't heard all that would have basically taken me away from my connection to myself.
Right.
I walked in there oblivious to all the ways that I'm supposed to be to nail the part, and I booked it. It was like maybe the first audition I ever had in my life. And that was supposed to be a 2-day shoot. It was supposed to just shoot for 2 days. After I did it the way I owned and was me, they rewrote it. They made it bigger. It was a bigger part. It was supposed to be only one scene, and then they kept making it bigger. And suddenly I was shooting for 6 weeks. The part got bigger because I was fully owning who I was. Right. And I wasn't trying to be what I'm told you need to be to get something. And then the next audition was like for Not Another Teen Movie. And I booked the slow clapper that keeps trying to get everyone to clap. It's always the wrong time. Again, no agent, no nothing. The only experience was 10 things. Then I started taking acting classes.
And that killed you.
It killed that acting career because they were like, you got to take this seriously, and it's not that easy. And it's almost like if you took like a Jim Carrey and said that to him, he's sitting there putting his legs behind his head and talking out of his butt, and you're like, listen,
Serious
there's
actors
500 people going through this. There's no way that's going to happen. And I listened to that, and I let my uniqueness and what's amazing about me leave. And for years that harmed me. And more now I, shed that and just like really have birthed this person that there's no rules on how anything has to be. As long as you're not hurting someone, you be you. You go into the truest you, and you be authentic. Mm-hmm. And I start realizing, I'm 47 and I have 47 years of experience. But if I try to mold into the spiritual world what I've seen so far, what I'm supposed to do to get sales or to do something to impact people that way, I'm literally cutting off a ton of myself and trying to shrink to make someone else happy. And I think that's the essence of all of us in a way, that what you truly are, if it's just find that you're truly that you feel that you desire that you are that you've made those mistakes, that whatever, you're free.
But Kyle, that's super scary to be yourself. It's super scary to tap in.
It's super scary to be yourself.
Right,
but
that's what people say.
Only to the ego.
Right.
Right?
The ego.
So it's super scary to a false mechanism that's not real.
Correct.
So if you are fully yourself, the more you step into that self, the more that false self can dissolve. It's that it's scary and you cater to it that it has so much power. If it's scary and you go, I don't care, it's dead. Right? So that moment is really big. When you go, yeah, it's scary if I leap into this, but I'm going to. Then what happens is you suddenly follow your calling, and the energy that says it's scary isn't running the show. And it dies because it's not running the show. So the more you follow your truest self, the more this small self has no hold. But imagine if you go, I'm going to be my true self, or I'm going to say yes to this thing, or I'm going to move or leap into this thing. And the smaller self goes, this is scary. And you cater to it, it just got 10,000 times more powerful. Because the voice of limitation just won. But it only won because you catered to it. It has no power over you until you cater to it.
I don't know if you know this story or not, Kyle, but I was first introduced to your work years ago with your book, Illusion of Money. When I read that book before we ever knew each other, before I had Next Level Soul. I loved that book because of the humor in it, self-deprecation that was in it, but the message of it, and I became a fan of yours ever since then.
Thank you.
And when I saw Illusion of Money, the documentary, I remember calling you. I go, dude, where's this been? And you're like, oh, it's only been on my website, like behind, people can watch it if they want. I'm like, this needs to be seen, man. This needs to be heard more and more. And I think now more than ever, that concept of the illusion of money. So I want to dive into what that book and what that movie was really about.
And they're two very different things, by the way.
Very.
People should know that. If you have the book, still check out the movie. If you see the movie, go get the book.
Absolutely.
Because they're the same title, and it was supposed to be a complementary thing that comes with the book. But I really realized they're two totally different things. I mean, there's some similarities, but
some of the concepts and the themes and stuff like that are in both, but they're very different products and very different things. But as far as the movie is concerned, the idea of the illusion of money. Now, when you say illusion of money, what did you mean by that?
Yes. Well, it's weird because I'm not saying money doesn't exist and we can't see it in certain areas, but there's an energy in our body that has a trigger and a feeling about money that we think is about money, but it really has to do with our beliefs, our shame, our parent conditioning, whatever. But it is the one thing that for sure most people make bigger than their soul. Oh. It's something that people say, I'd love to just follow my heart, Kyle, but I have to make money. And I go, you don't know how much money you're losing by not following your heart. You don't understand how much you're limiting yourself and making money bigger than you. And one of the points of the book and the movie is that is actually expensive. And because you're cut off from your heart and you're not following what truly it says, now the money you are getting, you have to spend on a bunch of addictions because you feel so unfulfilled. right?
Yeah.
And so the premise of this is that there's a concept in our body we call money, but it's not. It could be, my dad said to me, money is the root of all evil. It could be, I'm shamed if I make it because I bonded with my parents that rich people are bad. Like, I mean, all these things are there. And so very often people have in their body deep belief systems about everything, about all kinds of stuff. But with money, there's, well, we grew up in a poor house. So like, if I still want to be my parents' kid, I have to be poor, could be in the subconscious, because if I'm truly what I want to be, then I'm not what they would approve of, or all these different things. Or the opposite, you could do it out of rejection. Sometimes people have parents that were broke or had beliefs about money, and they're like, I don't want to be my parents, so I'm going to like hustle and work really hard and not be that. But you're still building money out of, I don't want to be my parents. So it's not that you're connected to source and you're doing what God wants and it's moving you to a higher frequency. You're just being the rejection of something. And the more you don't want to be something, the more you have to encapsulate what it is you don't want to be. And the more people that don't want to be like their parents, they hit 40 and 50 going, I'm just like my dad, And so I'm here to say there is a you that is a whole you, that isn't just the unit that you had to create to protect yourself from your childhood and mold around your parents' egos. There's a whole you, and that you is full of abundance. And one of the things I think that we all have, I know that I've had in me, the pressure to be a provider for family, Now there's the ego's version of that, which is like, I saw my dad have that and I'm going to grab that and be the same. I find even if I let go of that pressure, God is providing for me on way, way higher levels. So it's providing through me when I let go of these egoic constructs, the people pleaser, the forced achiever to not be someone else, all these different things. The true you is when you're, meditating for a while and not doing things because you think you have to make someone else happy, or not doing things out of survival. Those things aren't even working anymore, by the way. The more you're trying to make money over your soul, a lot of people are like, I'm hustling, I'm still not making money. I'm like, because the consciousness now is so high that doing things out of fear isn't working at all. So if you're doing something out of survival or fear, so if you're trying to make money over hearing your soul, you're going to not only lose your soul, but go broke in the process. So there's a lot of people like, I'm working 50, 60 hours a week and I'm not making any money. And I'm like, right, because you're not connected in your vibration. You're doing it based on egoic effort in a time where in 2025, the consciousness and the light that's shining on us is so bright that you're stuck seeing all these egoic patterns, which as a side note, I think also is why a lot of people are having a hard time sleeping right now. So many people right now, especially if they're doing inner work, are having a harder and harder time sleeping. The amount of clients I have, I've gone through it quite a bit too. My fiance Amber has, we go through this thing where inside of us are these patterns that lied dormant in a darker time that didn't look at ourselves. Now these patterns are coming up and they're dying and they're trying to survive. So they're active, so we can't rest as well because they're like being pulled up and out. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does.
But a lot of people are going, why can't I sleep? And it's like, because life right now is forcing us to get into our truest self, even if we don't know what it looks like, even if it's not familiar. And so it's going to kill your people pleaser. It's going to kill your not enough lie. It's going to kill your stagnant story of being in the wrong relationship. It's going to kill your staying in a job you don't like. All of those are being forced to die now. And what is replaced is you directly connected with source. And it turns out it is not about survival. It's about thriving. It's about ways you wouldn't have seen. It's about ways you don't understand. One of the things in a meditation I heard recently from Source is it told me, make everything that I do, like there's products we've had that were thousands of dollars, make them cost almost nothing. It's crazy. So I made a meditation bundle recently that I'm so proud of, right? And I made it it's a bundle of 5 meditations for health, releasing, all these things. These meditations are truly designed to help you let your doer go, because a lot of us have a doer, and the doer is here to prevent our biggest fears from coming to light. If we'd move the doer out of the way, the biggest fears could come to light and leave. So I made this meditation bundle, and I made it $20. And recently we've sold more, we've made more money from the meditation bundle that's $20 than in the old days when I had $1,000 products.
Yep.
And I started to go, oh, like it's just like give it, like that's why I'm like take Love Rising, take the illusion of money, because it's just like I'm not here to get anymore. It's like it's so providing if I follow what it says. But if I was in the old egoic construct, it goes, you have to make money, I would not have heard that higher thing tell me, just make your meditation bundle $20 and sell thousands of them. You get what I'm saying? Right? So I'm starting to see that Source has like way better ideas. And weirdly, if you're connected to Source, it will take care of your money. Another premise, I think this one's more in the book than the movie, is imagine if you went on a date with money. This is weird, but imagine if you went on a date with money and you brought your childhood beliefs or your current beliefs even about money, and you're saying them to the money, right? You're the root of all evil. You're not enough. You're never enough. Why aren't you more? Now, if you were money and you're on a date with you and your beliefs, wouldn't you leave?
That's amazing.
Right?
No, the energy that you're putting towards money, like why would money want to be there?
Yeah, if you're telling money you're not enough, why do I need more of you? I need you to change. I need whatever. You're saying completely that I don't like you. You're not, I mean, all the vibration is negative. Like you, or how about this? I'm going to use you to get someone else to like me. Imagine if you went on a date with someone, they said, I'm going to use you to get someone else to like me. Because there's a lot of people that want more money so they can get a richer car or whatever, and then get the woman to like them. Right? So these are reasons that money can't come to you, because literally your subconscious belief system is attacking it. And another premise in the book that I think is really exciting is we also see money as a finite thing, because we don't get that we are the source of every dollar we've ever made. So we should get excited about ourselves and the source that we are, because money just came as a match to that. But people look at money as if it's the God, and this is our limitation. So imagine if you and I were out in the woods and I rounded a corner and there's a waterfall. Wouldn't it be weird if I took a cup and I filled the cup up with water, I came back to you, I didn't mention the waterfall. I just go, Alex, dude, look, a cup of water. You'd see the cup and you'd only see the limitation of the cup.
Right.
So you'd be like, do we have enough for rent? You know, we sure can't donate any of it. Like, we don't have an unlimited supply. Right. Because you're looking at the money, that's the cup of water. But you're the waterfall. But because we shrunk our consciousness to money is bigger than the waterfall that I am, right? We literally see money as this limitation thing. And it's interesting also because there's only one you, and the more you go up in vibration, the more you realize you're not replaceable if you really access all of you. Meanwhile, money has been for the last 4 years printed so much that it's worth nothing.
It's not even printed anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, it's printed, but it's also like, fractional reserve banking,
yes.
right? Yeah. For every dollar they put in, they can actually loan out 10.
Yeah.
That whole
totally.
thing. So they're literally typing it in.
Right.
And so if you put $1,000 in, the bank generated out of thin air $9,000
right.
by law to then loan out to people.
Right.
So it's literally infinite. It's not like the olden days where it was attached to gold,
right,
and we only could make as much money as we had gold.
Right.
That's gone.
Which would make sense.
That makes a lot more sense than what we have now.
Yeah, because these are just IOUs.
Right.
So so you're worth everything, money's worth nothing, and you're focused on money. So you're shrinking your consciousness to that thing that they're printing more of, so it's not worth anything, is worth more than what I am. And there's a thing in the book that, a lot of great speakers in the past have talked about making your money work for you, and Robert Kiyosaki, all those things. One of the things I talk about is using money to raise your vibration or put it into something that will heal you. Like for me, if I get extra money, I'd like to go to a cabin for a month in the woods with no internet and hear God on a higher frequency. To me, renting that cabin for $100,000 would pay for itself much higher because I'd get higher guided ideas. I'd heal wounds of I'm not enough. All these things would get taken care of if I go to a higher thing. So for instance, you get money moving it towards your health. You get money getting an assistant for your business that's always been a soul calling. If it moves you towards your soul, using money to do that will make the money pay for itself so much more. So for me, like A is, a one group of people takes the money, they're just buying beers and just it's going away. B is I'm putting my money in the stock market. I'm putting in money to make money for me. C is I'm putting it in to change my consciousness to the highest I can. So I'll get an assistant to help me with things that don't align with me so I can go
get
meditate.
a massage. Go get a massage. Go to a vacation.
Yes.
All that things that feed the soul. I want to go on a vacation with my family and spend money on it.
Yes.
As opposed to putting that money to work in the stock market or put it, or an investment of some sort.
And those are still great too.
It's a balance.
But the highest version of yourself is like, I can't imagine another, like a deeper reason to be on this planet than to find out what you are. And it turns out what you are is worth so much more money than money. And so get excited about you through your connection to you, your exploration of you, your meditations, your connection, all those things, more than we're getting more money. Like this energy is not going to make it anymore. That's an old consciousness. At one point it was a victim thing, then it was an achiever thing, and I think it's now, and then it was a vibration thing. I think it's a now thing. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah.
It makes all the sense in the world. I mean, I have to tell you, like, my relationship with money over the years is the hustle. Mm-hmm. I mean, literally my last show was called Indie Film Hustle. So I was like all about the hustle. I had the hustle hat, hustle, grind, hustle. And it was all about, I need to go get it. I need to go hustle for it. Money's hard. These are all things that I came up from, blue collar family, and they struggled to make money and they, they did the best they could at the times that they had it, but we didn't come from a rich situation by any stretch of the imagination. So since I was 4, I was figuring ways out to make money. It was always a thing to me, but when the more I try to grab onto it, that's when the things didn't happen. Mm-hmm. That's it. Like I would try to grab onto it. I would try to force it. I would try to direct it as a director, to direct the things to make it happen. And only when I let go is when doors started to swing open.
That's a real thing.
But it's scary.
Yeah.
It's either you're forced to let go in one way, shape, or form. The universe forces you to let go.
Yes. You can't voluntarily let go while you're abundant and haven't had the low yet to create the force.
So they're forcing you to let go.
Yeah.
Or you make the conscious decision to let go.
Yeah.
When I started the show, I made the conscious decision to put myself out there.
Yeah.
To do this work. And it was scary. It was terrifying.
Yeah.
But since then, our goal with this company, what we do is never money. I never chase money, ever. I'm about the mission.
You'll be more abundant, ironically.
More ironically, we were able to build this. There was so much more abundance that came to us because we weren't focused on it. Yeah. It's not something, it doesn't even, it's never even a calculation in my decision making.
Yeah.
It's always about how can we, what is this going to affect people? How can we get this out there? What are we going to do? I bring people on the show who I know might not be like a huge hit on our YouTube show, meaning that there's going to be less revenue. There's going to be less this. But I'm doing it because I want to.
Yes.
Because I think it's important, because I want to get this out there.
Well, it's funny to be like, okay, so let's mold to what will sell. If we do that, then, like, who do you think, one example is Dead, but who do you think would fill a stadium more? Britney Spears or Miles Davis? Now maybe Miles Davis because of the legendariness is up there.
I'm like, is he alive?
Yeah, no, he's not.
I know, I'm joking.
But what I mean is, I don't even want to say like Britney Spears specifically because I'm not dogging anyone, but there's a way that like what the public loves doesn't necessarily represent what the greatest is.
Yeah, this. Remember this? We didn't know we wanted this
Right.
until Steve Jobs showed up and said, we need iPods.
Right.
I think an iPod is something you need. I think this iPhone is what we didn't even know we needed it or wanted it.
Right.
So it's and everybody else was like, no. This is the way. This is the way.
Right.
So you always are finding something else. Yeah.
Yeah. So in response to you having your favorite guest that called to your heart more than just what is a guaranteed 10 million view thing.
Yeah.
Right. I think in the long run, that's going to add up much better for you. And you might have to go through the consciousness of letting go of the attachment to, will I be loved by everybody and all that. And then when that sheds, you go to a higher frequency of doing what you're being told by source to do. And the letting go aspect is so huge, because when you think about who's chasing the money, the one that wants the money, you know what that is trauma. Mm-hmm. It's literally because I'm not enough if I get enough money. It's like, if I just get that, then I can survive, because I can't survive because in my body is a story I'm not survivable. These patterns are not able to make any money now. And they're not working, and they're fear. And so I believe even in some realms, sometimes I think there's two factors. If you're hustling, but you have a higher consciousness going on deep inside, right? It's different if you're hustling and you don't know there's more. That's different.
Oh, this is a hustle.
Yeah.
I have to. I mean, I do a lot of work.
Yeah.
You do a lot of work.
Totally.
Yeah, but we're doing
but it's
it with
guided.
And it's
and
mission,
that's not hustling. To
and
me.
it's
like,
it's mission.
Yeah, I'm not saying I wouldn't work all day. I'm saying when you're saying I'm in lack unless I get, and you're pushing from that, you're screwed. But when you can work 14, 15 hours a day and feel easily full and happy at the end because it was guided. It's very different. That's a very different thing. If you're either against yourself while you're working or you're meeting yourself while you're working, right? So you're against your soul, forcing yourself to be against your soul. Life is going to kick your butt if you're doing that because it's going, you're out of alignment, and we're moving to a time where we have to be connected to our souls. It won't let us get away with it. And so the letting go aspect, one of my favorite books of all time is David Hawkins' Letting Go.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's so good.
Just incredible. And it
so good.
Really walks you through that. I believe the more I do this work, every issue you have outside of you is inside of you. Everything, even other people, your issue with other people is only inside of you. Yeah. So we get triggered by them. And then the way we work egoically is we go, that's the issue. And rarely do we go, what's it bringing up for me? What do I feel about the issue?
Right.
And you start going inward and you start to go, oh my God, there's a them in here. Like there's a my mom in here. There's a, for every
living rent
person.
free. Living rent free.
Yeah, right? They're everything. There's your past, there's your people, there's your enemies, there's all these things. And when you start meditating, you start to see there's a them in here that's against a false smaller you in here, but they're all existing within you. So this you isn't you. This is a false them and a false you, right? Because
battling.
What's that?
Battling with inside.
Battling inside. And when you start to like really hear them and you start to see through the lies, they really do dissolve. And then you hit this wholeness that realizes my stress is not real. Like it needs to be seen and it needs to be alchemized, but it's not real at all.
Right.
So then I notice when I heal an issue with anything going on outside, inside, then the outside changes. Dude, I'll never forget. I had a one-on-one with a woman who was working with me. She hadn't talked to her mom in a bunch of years. She said, my mom won't call me back, whatever. We worked on this. We meditated on, we talked about it. We released it. By the end of the call, she was completely free of her mom. She was fine with it. I'm not kidding, dude. Her mom called her. At the last couple minutes of that, she just sat there shocked. She released the mom inside, got free, didn't need mom to call her anymore, felt truly happy, and her mom called her. And that, I've seen that kind of thing so many times. Wow. You release the trauma that's inside with the issue, and then the issue changes. So if people are having a money issue, that's trying to show them the money issue isn't in money or your bank account. It's inside. You have a story and a war about money. And it's asking you to not just chase money to keep fixing it over and over, because God's trying to get you to go in. You go in and you'll start to realize, oh, like, I'm actually scared my dad will say, I told you so, if this business falls apart. Or I'm actually scared my mom will shame me if I can't make it. Or I'm scared that I'll have to go live with my parents or something. And then I have people work with me and they'll find that deeper fear. And then I'll have them say, it's okay if I have to live with my parents. It's okay if my mom shames me. Then they lose their resistance to it. Then it leaves. Then all of a sudden, those things aren't factors. And then their callings get higher and they make more money. Does that make sense?
It makes all the sense in the world, Kyle. As you're talking, I'm like looking into my own life and all the things I've gone through. I'm sure you've gone through as well. And you start to look at the stories we tell ourselves on a conscious level, but the more nefarious ones are on the subconscious level, where you don't really even know that those beliefs are controlling your life.
Yes.
Controlling your life, 100%.
Yes.
And only after like when I wrote my first book, Shooting for the Mob, about my $20 million movie with the mafia. That was a whole thing.
Wow.
That was probably one of the most traumatic moments, year of my life. You know, basically going to work every day, trying to make a movie with Joe Pesci from Goodfellas.
Wow.
You know, that's how bad it was. Life being threatened all the time. I didn't know.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't believe we haven't had that conversation.
I don't know the story, but nothing easier than being creative while everyone's threatening you.
Oh yeah. In a production meeting, my whole crew sitting there in a pre-production meeting. I'm sitting there and I'm like killing it. I'm like, yeah, we're doing this. And I'm 27 and I'm like, yeah. And at the end, everyone was like, all right, great, let's go do it. And then I had Jimmy, he's my gangster. He came over and he just grabs me by the shoulder and with his meat hook hands just pinches me in the like in that little area right here, and goes, "That was great, kid, but don't forget, I can knock you over the head with a shovel and put you in a ditch somewhere. I'm still the captain."
Wow.
And I like, so hi,
Wow.
all day for a year. So that trauma ran my career, ran my life. I only dealt with it when I wrote the book, and I had no idea.
Wow.
When I started writing the book, I started like, things just started bubbling up, and I would skip chapters because I knew where I had to go emotionally to go revisit those. It was like I was reliving everything from scratch, and it brought it all up. And then I started really doing some deep work on myself and some shadow work, really. And I'm like, oh my God, is that why I've been like, I was always frustrated, like, why isn't my career taking off in the way it should? I have the talent, I have the experience, I even have some of the connections, but yet everything always blocked. I was always being blocked all the time. I get enough to work and I always made a living, but never got to and I was in the room so many times. So I was in the room with the big movie stars and the big everything, and I never could get it. I'm like, what is it? And I'm like, holy crap, I self-sabotaged myself for the last 15 years. I had no idea.
Yeah.
So because of the fear of that scenario happening again, I, on a subconscious level, constantly sabotage myself.
Wow.
But that's the nefarious subconscious story that your ego is telling itself, to be honest, to protect itself. It's doing its job.
Yeah.
It's there to protect you in many ways. Would you agree on that?
Absolutely. That's the interesting thing, is everything that is in our body to protect us, that's not our natural, a car is about to hit you.
Tiger's eating you.
Yeah. Is going to come up this year. I believe that for so many people. Yeah, I really believe that. Because they're not the truth. And you're using protective mechanisms, now as if that time is happening now.
Correct.
And it's not, right? And so in my eyes, there's a protective mechanism, people pleaser in me. There's a protective mechanism that thinks who I am is my career. There's a protective mechanism that, wants to make sure everyone else is happy and no one leaves me or abandons me. The more I go inward, the more I see they're all like wounds from childhood. And there's a little boy inside that doesn't want mom to leave me. So he shows up with people. He shows up with current people as if And like life is making me literally move more into a man version of myself than the boy that's like, are you proud of me for this thing, or do you like me, and all those things.
That's the one part of the movie that An Illusion of Money that you were like really dug deep into what you were doing with your mom.
Yes.
That you were out there and you're like, oh, I get love from performing.
Yes.
And when mom stopped giving you love, you're like, well, I got to go bigger.
Yes.
I got to go bigger. I got to go bigger. And it drove you to do thousands of stand-up college tours.
Dude,
and
you wouldn't believe
and
it.
Comedy Central, like, top Comedy Central specials and all of this kind of stuff. And you were just chasing mom.
I was chasing mom saying good job and loving me.
But that was a story you told yourself. She never did that to you, or did she?
Yes and no. Well, my mom, she passed away right before my daughter was born in 2017, and she was a best friend. She was my best friend. And there was also in her own protection mechanism that was about security and just didn't want me to get hurt. And weirdly, when I would do a gig, the first question would be, what's it pay? And one time I was doing a sketch on Jimmy Kimmel, and she said, what's it pay? And I was like, I'm on national TV.
I'm on Jimmy Kimmel. Doesn't matter what it pays.
Right.
I get paid on that.
And I, and sometimes I would, when she was in the audience at a show, I would like pressure myself to do better. And usually those wouldn't be the best shows. Mm-hmm. And then she'd walk out and I'd be like, how was it? What'd you think? And she'd be like, your timing was off and stuff like that. And,
wow.
It hurt because like I wanted her to, and this is my addiction. I need her to say good job, and that I'm only seen if someone says good job. And it's like God's trying to kill that me and go, I want you to see you.
Right.
God's going, one of the things that empaths have is a major addiction to, I'm only seen when someone else hears it.
Yes.
And then when someone hears it, then all I do is give myself permission to feel heard, and I hear what I was wanting them to hear. So I was like, what if I cut out the middleman and start hearing what he wants heard?
Fair enough.
Right? So like, that's why I find 2 hours of meditation a day is helping me hear everything that feels unheard. Mm-hmm. And inside is a boy going, okay, I got to point this out to someone. I want to show Amber, my fiance, that I'm enough with this or whatever. And then I'll hear a higher go, look at him struggling to get attention on the outside. Can he just have from you that even if he's not enough, he's loved? Sometimes I'll tell the pattern, even if no one sees you, it's fine. And he'll just be like, what if I'm never loved and everything? And I'm like, that's fine. I'll tell him, you're allowed to feel completely unloved in my body. What am I doing? Becoming a space of unconditional love for him, even if he's a failure, even if he sucks at everything, even if no one likes him, all of these things. And all of a sudden that pain starts to literally turn into tears and dissolve out of my eyes. And the wounded kid is a little more gone. Right? Like for good. Like there's still more, but there's less and less and less, right? I feel in my life that because of how much my life is about the inner work, I'm getting younger and younger and younger in certain ways. Like I feel healthier. Like you should see a clip of me in Not Another Teen Movie. I'm like,
I've seen it.
I'm like 70 pounds bigger. Mm-hmm. I'm tired. I'm like this kind of like just different energy.
And you were how old?
22 probably, because it was
prime of your life, sir. The prime of your life.
The prime of my life is now. I mean, it's like, do you notice that like artists that are about consciousness fully, they get better as they age, and the opposite happens for the others. Like, like I one time, I won't say who it is, but one time I was adopting a dog, and she said, my husband's almost home, and he was a famous singer. He was in a famous band, and he came home to the house and he saw me, and he had sunglasses on and the medallion and was the
he was a rock star. He was a rock star, yeah.
And he sees me, he goes, come here, I want to show you something. And he takes me to his piano and he sings his hit song at me to show me that he did that song. Like, and this is weird to say. No, he just needed me to know he was that singer. And he sang it completely off tune. And there's new videos of him out, and I don't want to say who it is because I don't want to be dogging him. Mm-hmm. But I believe because he's so identified with I'm the famous thing in the past, and I'm not here for what God has for me now as much, that It's like almost like God's making him lose that ability, because there's videos of him singing now and it's totally off tune and it's weird and it's like, and then if you look at the ones that we know that are only about consciousness, they got better as they're getting older, like George Carlin.
Oh my God.
Like George Carlin got better as he got older. I feel like Beckwith and Esther Hicks and them, they get younger as they get older. Wayne Dyer got better after 50.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And why is that? It's like you're either growing or you're dying. You're either I'm the past story and everyone liked me for what I did, that I whatever got touchdowns in high school, or was
God, those guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they talk about the glory days of high school.
Right.
Like,
and
yeah.
I'm now, and even though I mentioned I'm in 10 things, there's very little, that was for that point. There's very little, there's almost no identification with it. And I've transcended so much, there's also almost no memory of it. I am so much more than now. And a story that I have that was a huge moment in my life, I've told this before, but one time before I had my daughter, I was cleaning out my house and there was a poster of my old Comedy Central special, a framed big Kyle Cease Weirder, Blacker, Dimpler poster, which by the way, I hate that special. I was not ready for that special. I was so much better as a comic than those things did. But I looked at this thing and I thought one day I might want to show my daughter this poster. And I realized there's a rule I have. If I am this is crazy. If I'm justifying keeping something, then I have to let go of it. Because whenever you follow your heart, you don't need to explain it to anyone. I don't have to explain why I'm the father of my daughter, why I'm in my relationship, why I do what I do. Right. But whenever you do something that is not your heart's calling, you will explain it. You know, yeah, I'm back with him. I know he's a jerk, but he took me out to a nice dinner. He explained everything. Or, yeah, I hate this job, but I will be getting a promotion in a year. Yeah, this job doesn't align, but I'll be getting medical, and that's good.
The lettuce wrap. It's a lettuce wrap thing.
Yeah.
At the Cheesecake Factory, that whole story.
Right.
Yeah.
In those moments, you're explaining why you're ignoring your heart. So you're in your head. Mm-hmm. You're actually going to your head because you're ignoring your heart. So I realized I'm holding this poster and I was thinking of keeping it because one day I'll show my daughter. And I had this thing go, you're justifying keeping it. So I went over to a dumpster and I dropped it. It shattered. I walked away and all this peace formed in my body. And it said, your daughter would rather have a present father. That moment was so big because once I finally let go of something, the revelations always show up after you let go of it.
Oh, yeah, of course.
It's like you let go of it, and then I'll tell you why. If you're holding on to it, I don't get to give you any revelations.
Oh, no.
But the second I dropped it and was fully released of it, God said, your daughter would rather have a present father than see all the posters of every old gig you did. And, and you show her how great you are and try to get your mom's approval through your daughter.
There was a moment in my coming up that I identified my entire life was identified as my career. I'm sure you can relate.
Of course.
That
I'm still shedding it.
If I was not a famous director,
right,
on caliber with Tarantino or Spielberg or Lucas or any of these big guys, I was a failure.
Yeah.
And I don't know, this doesn't happen because you weren't a director, but when you're coming up in your 20s, you're like, okay, Orson Welles did Citizen Kane at 23.
Yeah, I've done that. Steve Martin was here at 27.
Yeah, you did it in your world. Yeah.
So I should be doing stadiums because
I was like,
one person.
So then you're 24. You're like, okay, missed that one. All right, at 27, Spielberg did Jaws. Okay, I could do that. Okay, missed that one.
Yeah.
George Lucas did Star Wars at 29, 30. Missed that one. Okay, Tarantino didn't get going until he was 32, really.
Yeah.
And you just keep...
You should do that with the other way. In other words, I've done that too, where I'm trying to literally mark myself with the highest, most successful person I can think of. Right. But you could also do it the other way. Rodney Dangerfield, I think, wasn't discovered till he was 49. Anthony Hopkins 55. Yeah. Anthony
55.
Hopkins was 55
when he did Hannibal Lecter
for Silence of the Lambs, which was really his big hit that started him in a trajectory.
And he had a career for the
legend.
next 25 years.
Right.
Because of it.
Right. And so it's interesting how we do that. That comparer that's like literally just
horrible.
picking and choosing an anomaly of like Spielberg was 27 or whatever. It's like why are we torturing ourselves? It's like you have your own way, you know.
It's insane. When you were talking about earlier, the old versions of ourselves versus the new versions of ourselves. There is, and I went through it multiple times in my life, but letting the old version of you die.
Yes.
It is a death of that version of you. Is terrifying when you've been. So when I jumped into podcasting 10 years ago, I was still a filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still a filmmaker, regardless. I'm always a filmmaker, regardless. I'll be a filmmaker till the day I die.
Yeah.
Doesn't go away. You're a comic. You will always be a comic. In your heart, you tell jokes. It is part of your nature. You don't have to be a comic somewhere else.
Yeah. But
it's inside of you. As I was going through with my show, my first shows, they were in the filmmaking space. So I was like, okay, cool. I'm still there. But then when I got into this world, I really had to let the old version of me die.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a dark night of the soul for the show.
Yeah.
I had to let go because this is, like I've said many times, this is insane that this is even a thing.
Yeah.
That I'm a filmmaker who opened up a spiritual podcast, and 3 years later we're almost at 1 million subs. It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
And I know I have no control over it. That's another thing.
Mm-hmm.
But letting go of that old version of me was extremely painful.
Yes.
But I did consciously let that old version of me die.
Yes.
I'm like, you know what? If I lose friends, if I lose people in my life that might have been with me for 10, 15 years, and they don't understand what I'm doing now, I have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
I have to be okay with letting it go. That's terrifying.
I think anything that you can let go of has to go because it's not a part of you. In other words, it's not a part of you now. We've brought this time idea in to the now that we are. And I really believe that we're moving to a consciousness where the only way to move forward will be surrender. You cannot move forward with control. Mm-hmm. Right? In other words, let me tell you a story of something that happened to me last month.
Okay.
This is craziness. This is really crazy. I was like, I want to do a 10-day water fast. I really was excited about it.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And I was excited about it from an emotional standpoint. It was not nearly as much as health, which is a great benefit, but it was about, I knew there was some emotional thing. Amber and I were talking about, I'm going to do this thing, and I could feel, I don't know what it'll be, but there's an insane emotional aspect to this. Right before I did it also, my daughter in her school, almost everyone in her class, in fact, everyone in her class, I think, and the teacher too, got sick. So I started getting sick 3 or 4 days in. And I first was thinking I'm getting keto flu, and I was thinking like it's just bringing stuff up. But then I got really fevery and sick, and I realized I think I just got my daughter's flu. And maybe day 6, I got my hands on an ivermectin. And I thought...
Ivermectin, what is that?
Ivermectin is like the pill that was kind of controversial that actually supposedly is really good at deworming.
Yeah.
And so... I had a friend go, this is very, awesome. And I had another friend that had it. And so I took one. Mm-hmm. I didn't think about the fact that I'm taking it fasting because it grabs onto the food and that's how it gets out. And it wouldn't leave, right? And so it was like I overdosed on it or something.
Of course.
And so I had a couple days where I couldn't get it out. I couldn't get it out of my system because there was no food in there. And I started kind of going a little bit crazy. And I started like seeing things, and there were dark images and all kinds of stuff. And there was then after that something that happened, and I don't know what the factor was. It also could have been involved with the fast or all kinds of things. I couldn't sleep for 5 days. 1 minute. Not like I got a few hours of sleep and that's I couldn't fall asleep for 5 days. And the more this kept going, the more crazy I get. I think you were talking to me. I was like, I'm going to the hospital. Or I'm having an off time. We were texting. That was that time. Yeah. And I noticed something insane. Anytime I had a fear-based thought or a thought about something that I can't control, I started having more delirious thoughts, more convulsions, more like, I mean, I was kicking, my body was shaking. There were times where I would like be in another room and not know how I got there. Like I was going nuts. But a factor was literally my mind thinking about things I can't control. There was someone I was attempting to reconnect with, and that didn't go well. And it was like the universe is like, let go of everything, let go of everyone, let go of all of this. And finally, I went to the hospital, and they put me on trazodone. They injected me with some, like a bunch of things. And I might have said that wrong. I don't remember what the sleeping thing was. But like I was out for 8 hours while they monitored me to make sure. And then I went home, and at 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. or something, I slept 24 hours. And after that, I felt a peace that I'd never felt before. I felt free, and I felt that what actually happened was the me that worries about how I look, that worries about what people say, that worries about things going on in the world, died because he couldn't make it. The only time I would feel calm before I went to the hospital was if I literally only paid attention to my breath. But if I thought of an issue I have with someone, it would start like, it wasn't like I'm choosing this. It was like, it's out of my control. It's crazy. But then like Amber and I talked about it, we felt like I went through a portal. And I feel like 2025, everyone's going through a portal. That 2025 is a portal that will make all your false egoic self die. And if you try to stay what you're used to being, you're going to go insane, because life is making those things dissolve and evaporate, and it's forcing you into the truest self. So if you're in a vibration of doing anything out of fear now, it's going to be exaggerated. The way that God does it sometimes is it makes it louder. This was like every thought I had. Some people just, I have a negative thought, I have a positive thought. But imagine if we could like close up on that and make it louder and louder. I was like, I'm in peace or I'm nuts, and I have no control over it. And I was like crazy. And then I would be like, breathe and just like be here. And I was free. And then after I got the sleep and they got me through that, it was like the entire past me died. And then weirdly, I just didn't care about making things happen with my business, but guided ideas happen. The last month has been more thriving than I've had in a long time. It was like the other side of it's like, God's like, I got you. But we have to kill this remaining you that worries, this remaining you that's trying to control things, this remaining you that thinks you have to monitor things that you don't have to monitor. I'm going to kill him. And he died. Like since then, I'm not saying there haven't been new fears, but I know that they're just they're like aftershocks of this, and I'm still in the much higher, freer version of that. It was the weirdest thing. So when you and I were talking, and you're reaching out to me, I'm like, yeah, I think so. I literally thought when she was taking me to the hospital, I remember. I was okay with it, but I thought I was dead. Yeah. I really was which was, I think, part of the dying. I was in a full surrender to, I can't see how I won't die, because I was crazy because I hadn't slept too. And
I can't even imagine.
And that there was a piece to it. I felt sad. I was like to Amber, I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like we have this amazing relationship going. But
I'm going now.
I really felt that. But I also felt in that work, the me letting go of, I have to stay alive. This will sound weird, but I have to stay alive because I have to supply for my daughter and everything. I let go of an egoic have to that made me thrive. And it was like undoing the fear version of the love version also thinks that I should stay alive for everyone in my life. But it's going to do it out of love versus fear. Do you see the difference? It's like let go of your obligation, Kyle, and make room for the soul, Kyle. And I've been doing this work for so long that I've always been aiming for the soul, Kyle, but it was like I was on ayahuasca for 15 days.
You read my mind. It sounded like an ayahuasca trip.
Yeah, and it was like worth it. It was like I wouldn't take that back, because it was like what I was before that still had fears. And it was like, I have said to myself, and I've announced out loud 5 years ago, I am here to meet my soul, no matter what the cost. And so that was what happened in that experience. And I feel freer and liberated and not as much running things from control and releasing and surrendering. And I find the only way to move forward with everything is hear what hurts and surrender it. Hear what hurts and surrender it.
Have you ever done a darkness retreat?
Yeah, I've done a 10-day darkness retreat.
So from my understanding, I haven't, but from what I understand is that when you are in a darkness retreat, it's simulating death, essentially, in the mind.
Yeah.
In the mind and the ego have nothing to grab onto.
Yes.
There's no stimulation. It's just you with you.
Yeah.
Which is terrifying for a lot of people.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So tell me what was it like? Because it sounded like that when you go through a darkness retreat, again, from what I heard, it's that you are dying and the ego is just.
So for people watching, I was in a room that was pitch black for 10 days by myself, right? Pitch black. So I don't have a screen. I don't have anyone to talk to.
Not a little sliver of light.
Nothing. I don't know what time of day it is. I don't
Yeah.
know anything.
Yeah.
This was an amazing, amazing experience. I did it in Ashland, Oregon, and they give you food in a two-sided door, right? So that they
Close it,
they
right.
can close it and you can get the food. You don't even know what the hell you're eating. There could be spiders on it. You have no idea.
You're just putting stuff in your mouth, right? Because you don't see it.
I went through a death probably every 20 minutes. Like on day 5, I had a moment where I was like, I think I can, because the guy told me you can stop at any point. And I heard my ego come up and go, I think I'm ready to stop now.
It's been 5 minutes.
It's been, screw this, right? And I heard a higher me tell the me that wants to leave. It said, why do you want to go? And this me started, I became the space holder for another me. And he started going, because I want to go home and I want to be with my daughter and I want to, work on my career or whatever. And I just miss and I'm lonely. And I started crying and he dissolved. And the man was just sitting there like, we're not going anywhere. And these voices would come up and then they would die. And I was getting lucid dreams. I was getting all these things. And one of the funniest things that happened was there was one time where I was hurting so much and I fell to my knees and I said, God, take this from me. I was just in so much pain. I said, I don't know what to do. And it was like God came in and said, you're right. You don't know what to do, and took it from me. Like the most humble moment. A couple days later, I had a huge insight and I went, Kyle Cease is so badass. And I stood up and I hit my head on something and I got the biggest black eye. And it was like life is saying, don't make this about Kyle Cease, dude. Like you made it Kyle Cease is so great and I'm going to injure you.
Right.
But when you said, I don't know what to do, you were in a humility and surrender and you were opening to source or God or Jesus or the universe. And you were in a surrender that is ready to say, I take whatever you want. Because I don't know, those moments I think are the greatest moments. I'm falling apart, take it from me. Because it's just like, it'll go, okay, here's your attachment to that person. Here's you wanting mom to see you. Here's you, and we'll take it from you. But that's what's amazing, is just becoming humble and respectful of the world and life and God, and just saying, I don't know what I'm doing here. And I'm not the one that's to run the show. And the more you release that, the more it just works through you.
You know David Blaine, right? Not personally, but you've heard of David Blaine.
Totally.
He does those extreme things. That an ice block for 10 days.
Holding his breath underwater
for like an hour
hours.
or whatever it is. Yeah. He was once, I think it was in the Times Square in a block of ice.
Yeah.
Challenge, and he was in there, and a lot of the same things start happening. He's like, I started seeing spiders, because you start to lose your mind a bit. And he looks outside and he's looking at people like, what time is it? And they go, 3:03. It's 3:03 in the afternoon. And he's like, all right. And then all of a sudden he just goes through all of this kind of like rigmarole. Like it's like, oh my God. Like, and he starts having all this stuff come up and spiders on the walls, and he's freaking out. And he's like, after all of that happens, he goes, all right, what time is it? He goes, 3:04. And he goes, oh, I'm in trouble. He literally said it in his mind, I'm in trouble now.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, hell. Because he thought an hour or two went by.
Yeah.
That's how lost he was.
Oh, my gosh.
There's no sense of time.
That's crazy.
That he went through, he felt like he was
He thought
there
that
for
was an hour and it was a minute later.
It was literally a couple hours. He thought he was like there at least 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it was 1 minute later.
That's crazy.
So when you let go of these constructs of time,
yes.
time is a construct. It doesn't really exist.
Right.
The way we look at time and space here makes very different in Jupiter.
Yeah.
Very different in another galaxy. You know, our time is based around our rotations around the sun and so on.
Yeah.
So it's very, very different. But that construct, when you do these kind of things, which I don't advise, by the way, don't do what you did.
The darkness retreat?
No, the other thing.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
the ayahuasca for 15
Yeah,
days.
just-
It's extreme, sir.
Yeah, no, that wasn't. Well, a 10-day
And you got sick
fast
too.
is
and all.
great. Yeah,
No, the fast is
it's
awesome.
so funny because
But everything
I
else
came
that came along
once
with
it was so weird because also once I had slept the 24 hours, I came out of it and thought, I look so good. Like it was like
Wow.
I felt
I've
so
felt.
fit and happy and all. It was weird as
Oh,
hell.
I've done
man.
I did a juice cleanse for 30 days once.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did a
That's
juice
amazing.
cleanse. I've done juice cleanses a few times in my life. And I did one for 30 days. And with juice is different because there's nutrients coming in,
Yeah.
at least something. But you start the clarity that you have in your head and the energy level and all that stuff. It's pretty, it's pretty insane.
Yeah.
It's a pretty
Well, that's
insane.
another surreal example of letting go, right? Like a lot of people try to hustle to fitness where they're, pounding on the treadmill, but they're still full of a lot of addictive energies and trying to change the diet and everything like that. But you can through fasting. Think about how little you're doing. You're doing absolutely nothing. And that's what surrender is like why fasting to me is a million times more effective because you're doing nothing. And I think in this time, the only way to shift your consciousness is by doing nothing. I think meditation is a great example of that, sitting in nature, doing nothing. And then what happens? You're making everything that is not you available to be removed. Right. So when I'm doing nothing, like, the addiction to coffee just left. The addiction to, when I'm fasting, the emotional connection to food, the one that needs to constantly be heading towards a restaurant, either eating at a restaurant or feeling guilty about what I just ate. I had a part of me that felt I don't exist if I'm not doing one of those three things. Like if I'm not eating or heading towards food, I'm not a person. So obviously that's the ego saying you're only loved. And every one of us has this, that the ego says, I only exist if I'm in a relationship. I only exist if I'm hustling. I only exist if I'm moving. I only exist if I'm, seen by someone. I'm only exist if I'm smoking. This is a weird thing. But when you start to get, I exist even if I'm not doing that, then the ego dies because you make yourself more exist during an addiction than always. And I start to realize even when I'm not eating, I exist. Like, it sounds like a weird thing, but like, I thought I'm only loved via a restaurant, And so that gets cleared out when you go 10 days. All those are gone. And then it has to be replaced by something. So it's God. You just become so much more connected, so much more free.
Kyle, I think that when we come down here, we're all just trying to find who we are and why we're here and what all this is.
Yes.
That's the basic question that
Which is a different question than probably 50 years ago.
Very true.
Right?
Yeah,
the question, what am I and what's here, is very different than what do I do?
Right.
Do you see that?
Yeah. Before it was about what I am, what I do.
Right.
Where now is like, well, who am I?
Yes.
What is the I?
And a lot of people, when they're feeling off, they say, what do I do? Even when they meditate, they say, what do I do during the meditation?
Why is it going wrong?
Yeah. I'm like, no, stuff's coming up. But if you catch and only ask yourself this question, what's here? Then it's a very different question. What do I do has a dip in vibration, and I almost see a different energy that it's going, I'm going to fix what's in here. Mm-hmm. But you don't even know what's in here. So the doer is here to not bring to light, like, don't look at that. Like, that don't look at him abandoned. Don't look at him shamed. Don't look at him lonely, right? Just like, so what do I do is an actual unconscious question that we've been asking that doesn't work in this time. If it comes in from what do I do, that's not guided, right? Because when you're connected to what's here, what you do comes through still, but you never ask, what do I do? So the what do I do question is a limitation question that actually shrinks your consciousness and keeps your pain stuck inside. But if you instead don't ask that question and ask, what do I feel? What's here? Or what am I? What am I is a million times more powerful of a question, or what's here, than what do I do, right? But I do feel that in the past, the consciousness was I am what I do. In the 70s and 80s, people are what they do. There's no question past that.
I mean, Working Girl tells you that.
Right, right. But like the end of those movies are like, and then they became successful and their house was huge, and you know what I mean? And now
occasionally they find love.
Yeah. But they end up achieving a ego goal.
Yes.
Right.
And then love is kind of like the side
right
thing.
Versus they find themselves, and they even after I let go of this person, or like don't have the house, I'm still enough would be a much better movie now, right?
And
I think they're starting to make some of those.
Well, do you believe also that that's one of the reasons why Hollywood is struggling so much right now?
Mm-hmm.
Hollywood is struggling.
There's a lot of reasons why Hollywood's struggling.
That might be another podcast. But generally speaking, there's a lot. I'm just noticing that people in the films that are being put out, the shows that are being put out, aren't resonating the way they used to. Like, you can't do what Arnold and Sly did in the 80s. It won't work today.
Right.
It just won't work. It worked then.
Yeah.
But it just won't work now. And I might be fans of those movies back in the day on a nostalgic standpoint.
Yeah.
But Predator doesn't play today.
Right.
Not the same way. Die Hard doesn't play today.
Well,
it did then.
I think the reason is unconsciously, and it's big to emphasize unconsciously, we're way more connected to ourselves.
Yeah.
And because we're connected to ourselves, a lot of movies feel like a dip. I've started several movies and stop them.
Same here.
And in the same realm, guess what? Connecting to your soul, maybe an Eckhart content, might not have done as well in the 80s. Oh. In other words, like to talk about non-duality, and
the power
higher
of now,
conscious, all these things.
Sure.
No one, that's great, but I'm building my empire. And I'm an entrepreneur that's going to make this happen, Right. And so we have to get the time we're in. And one of the things this time is only about is letting go. It would like to shed how we perceive the past. It would like to shed our past story. It would like us to shed the collective idea of the doing that we thought we were through the 80s and stuff. Like, it wants to shed. And so it's weird when we're trying to make things happen in a time when you're trying to shed. It'd also be weird to shed in a time where the consciousness is trying to make things happen. This is only a time of letting go. And you saw it a lot for the last 4 years when people are arguing over, medical interventions with their family, and then they don't talk to them anymore. The amount of clients I have who don't talk to people in their family anymore, different people, because they've had different arguments about politics or COVID or something like that. It's huge. It's through the roof. It's normal to lose touch with family members, with friends. But what is that on a higher level? The universe is going, if you lose all these addictive connections, you will be forced to go inward. So I'm going to take people from you. I'm going to take this idea that, because I think an old consciousness is about connection first. And the consciousness now is expansion over connection. You can have friends, but they got to be expanding too. You get what I'm saying?
Would it be more, it's kind of like before you would have to have a dock to connect your boat to.
Right.
And multiple docks if possible.
Yeah. And it's like God's in the middle of the lake, though.
Right. And now you're adrift in the ocean.
Right.
By yourself.
Right.
You and Source.
Right.
And you have nothing else to connect to because now you are forced to deal with what's in front of you.
And imagine if you let go of think of how much that analogy works too about how safe and boring the dock is, and how you're here to learn how to become one with that ocean that's throwing you around. You're here to, it's going to be rough and it's going to be waves, but don't you want to live? It's going to be, you know what I mean?
But that's the point of this whole thing.
Yeah.
If you're home safe all the time,
right.
I'm not saying safe, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That you want to go out, have adventures and so on. There's a series on Next Level Soul TV called Road to Dharma, which is about a group of people going into the Himalayas, going to the 3 highest passes in the Himalayas.
Is that the podcast you did with the guy
Adam
that brought Course in Miracles to the Bible? Like he was.
No, that was David Hoffmeister.
Oh,
That was
okay,
different. That was a different guy.
He had a podcast.
Yeah,
or
recently.
a video too.
Yeah. No, there was he has another movie called Take Me Home. No, this one is we're going into the Himalayas with a yogi on motorcycles into the 3 highest passes in the world.
Wow.
And none of them ride motorcycles.
None of the yogis do?
No, the yogi rides motorcycles,
Oh.
but none of the people going on
Oh.
the trip have ever ridden a motorcycle.
Wow. Yeah.
On the Himalayan path. And when I was watching that show, the idea that the Himalayas, and there's a reason why there's so much spirituality in the Himalayas, and there's temples and there's things, because the Himalayas, nature forces you to get out of your comfort zone. You have no
Yes.
choice because you have to survive. So it breaks down the physical barriers.
Yes.
And it also breaks down the psychological barriers because you're going against something that cannot be defeated.
Yes.
You can't defeat the Himalayas.
Right.
So
That's
because
amazing.
you can't defeat it. So you're going in, and as you're going in, nature is literally beating you down to a place where then you're forced to go inward.
Wow.
You're forced to go inward. This happens to anyone who's stuck in nature, who lives in nature a lot, who survives in nature. Your whole thing changes when you're in that. But that specific show is so beautiful because you see the transformation of the people on, where first a lot of the ego stuff goes
Yeah.
on. And there's a guide with you. There's a yogi who's done this 1,000 times, who's walking you through this process, but you're being guided through it. And even then, they're just like, well, when are we going to start doing yoga? This is not about yoga.
Yeah.
This is about transcendence.
Right. Right.
But that's the thing. So that's an example of you walking into something that's going to
Yeah.
break you down. But life will do that for you.
Yes.
Will do that for you. You've gone through it.
And so, I've gone through it a ton. And you're going to live on this planet. You're going to live fully. You can participate with it, or you can be dragged into it, right? So your intentions with God and your expansion,
Yeah.
or your intentions in your agenda, and God will go, okay, I'm going to rip that out from you, or I'm going to make that agenda that comes with that addiction worse and worse and worse, or I'm going to make your health bad, or whatever. And not in a negative way. Like God's not saying I'm going to make your health bad.
I'm not going
but-
to punish you.
No, not from punishment. It's like I'm going to disable any part of you that you can grab onto to not live fully and live with Source. I mean, obviously, we are supposed to be connected fully to Source. That's our home. And then we were just absolutely conditioned out of it. And
from the moment you're breathing air.
totally. Or before. I mean, you're in the womb.
On the
and they're
womb, you're
fighting,
absolutely right. And you're hearing it.
Yeah. And so you're just put into an egoic world that disconnects you from your home. And then we're trying to find the home through money or through people or through,
Everything.
other people seeing you. And the real only goal should be, or intention should be like, what gets me back home? I heard a non-dual speaker named Lisa Cairns recently say, the only thing that matters, in a way, she said it different than this, but is that your desire is for your freedom. Is your desire for your freedom. Like that's the only factor, because a lot of people want oneness and they want to experience God, but they don't want to let go of all their old structures that have been blocking them from it.
And I took your course. I took your event. And it's not working.
Yes.
It's not working. And I've seen 1,000 of your podcasts and took your course, and it's not working.
Yeah.
Is it the course's fault? Is it
Yeah.
the podcast's fault? Is it the event's fault?
Well-
or is it not you not letting go of that stuff that's blocking you from getting there?
Well, that represents another problem that I think a lot of people have, which is that I'm just going to hear advice, and I don't have a me that goes, does this advice work or matter? And I'm just going to be a collection of advice taking, but there's no me. See, for me, like when I go to an event, in the past I would go to an event, you'd see a big Tony Robbins event or Eckhart event or whatever. I'm fine if I don't align with 80% of it. I just hear what sentences hit and what changes me and go, that applies to me. But there's a me involved. So I hear advice sometimes, but I literally ask myself, does this align with my soul? Now, there's some people that just go, what do I do with my life? Okay, that podcast said do that. So I'll just do that. That doesn't work because,
Nope.
dude, I've had 19-year-olds that hear me talk about letting go and they're like 2 days into their job at Foot Locker and they just quit it. And I'm like, wait, no,
That's not
that's
what I
not
said.
letting go. You're still building. Like, we have to build a thing that you later hate to let go of.
I mean, you gotta.
Yeah,
you haven't built anything to hate yet.
Yeah, yeah. You haven't built. You're in the building stage. Like I'm like most 19-year-olds don't listen to me. You're letting go of your parents' house right now. But like people will be like, okay, I let go of it. I heard your content. It's like you're way too literal. You have to have a you that feels that it's time to let go. Also.
Well,
You
yeah.
get what I'm
Also, I
saying?
mean, have you had people that have watched your stuff, read your books, or something like that? And you're like, after I saw that event that you did, I just quit my job and divorced my wife because I just felt.
And you're like, did you want to?
I'm like, no, but I felt that's what I needed to do.
Yeah. You're like,
Like,
no. You've just made Kyle's content your God and there's no you. And I can't work with those people,
Right.
because I'm like, I'll be like, don't listen to my content because there's no you in here. You're just going, oh, do that. And then you'll, like that. And by the way, that's falling apart for all of us in this way too. There are books that say like eat this way, eat keto or eat meat and no carbs. Yeah. And then there's other books like
Vegan,
that are like
vegetarian,
only eat carbs.
it's so
like
confusing.
Medical Medium is talking about sweet potatoes and all these things that is like the antithesis of the
keto.
But what does that really mean? A way outside of you. There's no one size fits all anymore.
No.
There's no a way is the right way. This is really big for people watching to get is like it's taking the ways away from you, like how to even fall asleep or how to, whatever. And it's going, we're removing that because a way is not the answer anymore. Like if people hear this and they go, oh, I'll just meditate 2 hours a day, but there was no calling in doing that. You're just doing someone else's way, but there's no intention, calling, reason. You're just doing, and so life might make that fall apart. Some people's way is to talk to God and stay in a good mood, but sometimes God's way is to let you feel all your anger and your rage. It's like you have your own unique unfolding. And when you get caught in a way is more the answer than me, you should remove all ways for a minute and listen to what's inside because you're just being an amalgam of things other people said they did. That doesn't work.
Have you run across people, and I actually was guilty of this back in the day, where you just become an addict to the self-help addict.
Oh, yeah.
That you're just reading every self-help book, you're reading every spiritual book, you're watching every spiritual podcast.
But you're not making any
But you're not moving
internal
forward.
changes.
Yeah, it's just like, it's kind of like noise in the background. It's like
Yes.
white noise, spiritual white noise in the background. And they're not actually doing the work.
Yes. Oh,
which
yeah.
is, I mean, doing the work is not easy.
Right.
It's tough.
Yes.
Hence why you have to do the work.
Yeah.
And I find that so many people it's so much easier to give your power away.
Yeah.
To you, to me, to Eckhart, to a religion, to an institution. Tell me what to do. It's so much easier if you just tell me what to do.
Yeah.
But I think we're letting go of that more and more. As a society, I think as a consciousness, we're all starting to go, no, the people who were in power before were telling me something that just doesn't sing true to me anymore.
It's so big to get. Also, life is a self-help seminar.
Oh, absolutely.
Like it's not only when you're in the audience of
t-shirt. You
those
should make a
things,
t-shirt.
right? Life is also a self-help event. Like people go, people don't get, like when you decide in your heart to let go of something, to move towards something that calls to your soul, to let go, to do nothing, to feel peace or whatever, you're participating in that. It doesn't only happen in the audiences. Mm-hmm. It doesn't only happen when you're reading these books. These books are great help, but there's a great line I saw in a book called The Vedanta Treatise, which said, think of self-help for many people. Think of self-help as the pole in pole vaulting. You need it to get in the air, but at one point you have to let go of it.
Oh, that's great.
Isn't that amazing?
That's amazing.
And that doesn't mean I don't still, I read some of
Pick
the
up a
books that
poll
you
here.
have there.
Yeah, pick up a poll or two.
I'll pick up a poll when it's time. But if it becomes the answer, then I am now not about myself and my growth. I'm about that teacher, or I'm about that answer. And speaking of that, I think that a lot of people that are self-help teachers might find themselves the last ones to ascend even after their clients do, because it can be very easy, and this is something I'm healing from, to be attached to your own image as a speaker and your numbers and not let go of to go to your truest self because you're now teaching this. But like in the ways that people that are watching events can get addicted to a speaker, the speaker can get addicted to their audience.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're in a place.
Look at Hollywood, come on, or in music.
Yeah.
They need the audience. They want the audience. Without the audience, they can't even exist.
Right.
Same thing.
And so like for people watching that are, I got my giant platform and stuff, sometimes life will be like, we got to at least make you lose your attachment to that. Right. We gotta get you connected to what you are. So sometimes you go up and you have these revelations, you start teaching the revelations, you build these things, and now all of a sudden you got a giant audience, and now you're stuck to your audience and you're not going past it now because it might require you to let go of your attachment to your image, your fame, your whatever. And that's why what I do is called evolving out loud, because I'm constantly evolving. And one thing that I do at my events that might be different is I'll also fall apart. On my membership site, dude, a couple months ago, I was doing a live call on my Absolutely Everything Past membership site. And I had a moment, I'm in the middle of a riff on someone's question. It's great. And I had a moment where just something in me froze, and it goes, like a voice came in and goes, what if you couldn't do this anymore? And I felt it show up, and I got scared.
In the middle of it.
In the middle of it, live. And Amber was so sweet. She came over and held my hand. And then I literally was like caught that I'm the image speaking. And then a higher me goes, just pay attention to your heart. And I had a fall apart that people can see on my membership site. I had a full fall apart and became the space holder for the me falling apart and explained while I was falling apart
right?
What was happening. So you'd watch me cry, and then you'd watch me explain, okay, the me that wants to impress you with that answer is dying, and I don't know what to do, and I'm grabbing my heart, and it says, just hold me. I'm getting more of your ego to come to light. And I literally like collapsed on stage in front of, or on the screen in front of my audience. And one time I remember doing an event on a Thanksgiving at a Unity church years ago, and I just felt off with a person from my past. We had an argument. I just got on stage and I cried for about 40 minutes. And I talked about it, and the audience, one of the people wrote and said that was their favorite event they'd ever seen, because it's like, one thing I'm trying to get across to people is put no one on pedestals. We all have problems.
Every one of us.
We all have problems. I've been backstage with some of the greatest speakers. They're all pacing, like, what if they don't like this? What if it doesn't look good? Don't tell them that. I don't want them to know this about me. And I find that really is a disservice in a way, because people are trying to find their truest selves, and they go, I want to be like that guy. And I'm like, I know that guy.
You don't want to be that guy?
And there's a lot in there that, and I would include me in that. I am a person, and I believe that if you're alive on this planet, there's more growth for you. And I can't tell you how much I'm like, hey, I screw up, I make mistakes, and I try to find myself in it, and I will bring the me that's lost to you too.
But I think that people are connecting more with authenticity, and
totally.
connecting more with people being that raw. Like you were saying earlier, like when you're going on social, you're looking for those authentic things like fails and pranks and things that are happening in the moment that are authentic. And I think that people are starting to kind of see through the smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
Not everybody.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people are kind of getting around. They're starting to feel like that doesn't feel right.
Right.
That guy doesn't do that. She's not. There's something off there.
Right.
They could have millions of followers.
Yes.
But there's people that are like, this is not singing true anymore. And I think that's one of the reasons Hollywood's having so many issues too, because it's not coming from a place of authenticity,
Totally.
which worked before.
Right.
Which worked before. But now it doesn't work.
I think people are dying to know that they're not alone in their problem.
Absolutely.
And I think that when you are someone who's got a problem, and then you look at all your friends' Instagram page, and there are all these beautiful black and white wedding photos and everything's perfect, you don't know that they're there looking at your Instagram page feeling like they're a fraud, and that they're and like one of the things that's going on is the dissolving of this idea that I'm screwed up and everyone else is okay. And what makes so much of our suffering multiplied is the belief that you're alone in this thing because everyone else is not presenting their pain too. And if we could all just finally get together and go, I'm a nightmare of problems. I'm full of anxiety.
Me too.
I think that's what's coming. I think that our biggest heroes will be the most screwed up people, and like we'll start to be like, that person's got problems too. And I believe there's a book a kind of about this called Pendulum, about the times that we're in, and that do you remember that in the 80s, like it talks about in the 80s, we're looking at our Arnold Schwarzeneggers and looking up to them. This crossed over in 2003 when all of a sudden our heroes are Napoleon Dynamite, a zit-faced screw-up.
Well, Big Bang Theory.
Or
those kind of, the show. Yeah, Big Bang, like those kind of people are attached to those kind of heroes.
Or how about Juno, where a girl, the hero of your movie is a 17-year-old pregnant girl that has no idea what she's doing, right? We're looking for this, and that started happening more, and we're looking for real. That's why we like a cell phone video more than a production house. That's why Blair Witch Project was a huge movie, because it's like that was the start of that. But I feel like now it's reached its peak where it's like, hey, we now know you're screwed up. I know you're screwed up. I know you're screwed up. And the more someone presents this polished, perfect thing without showing any vulnerability, the more people are like, BS. Because it's like, we're all in it. We're all screw ups, and we're all in our pain. There's no other reason to be on the planet than to heal all that.
And is that why you think that? And I keep going back to Hollywood because we're both from it. And I feel like that's all Hollywood is. It's showing
presenting perfection. Look at them on the red carpet.
Yeah, and the Oscars are in a couple months, and I always say, and this is a joke that only people from LA understand, is that the Oscars, where they're held, is on Oscar night stunning. Mm-hmm. It's beautiful, red carpets, everything's great. You go there the week after the Oscars, don't be there at night.
Yeah. Don't walk down that street.
Hollywood Boulevard. You do not want to be. Yeah. And if you go,
it should be like from Hollywood and just show a homeless guy peeing on someone.
I mean, because that's what it is. Yeah. Like you walk 3 or 4 blocks away. The farther you get from Hollywood, it gets scarier and scarier. And that is a perfect example of what Hollywood does so well. People. So many. Every time. I don't know if this happened to you when you lived in LA. Anytime someone came in from out of town. Can we go down to Hollywood Boulevard?
Mm-hmm.
Can we go see the Walk of Fame? And everyone like. If
I
have to go, we'll go. I'm like, it's not what you see on TV. And when they get there, they're like, oh.
Why does it smell like pee?
Why does it? Oh, is that a Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Fighting with an Optimus Prime? Like,
yeah. Right. Which, by the way, isn't a thing that thing isn't a thing like that anyone's being paid to do. It's just people showing up wearing that.
Oh yeah,
taking pictures and getting
tips.
And
that's how they get tips. You can't ask for money. That's the law.
Right.
And there's fights there all the time. I think this Batman was fighting Spider-Man one day.
Fighting Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah. There's a great doc about those guys, by the way.
Yeah, I've seen it.
The Superman one?
You're not going to believe this, but I dated a woman once who was working on her careers years ago. And we walked by and saw Marilyn Monroe and realized she could do it. And so she did it for a few months. She would go be Marilyn Monroe. She was dressed as Marilyn Monroe.
And she'd make some money.
She would come home with a big bag of tips, and it was crazy. It was just like, this is making her more money than
auditions.
Her career was, and so it was funny. But like it was, so because of that, we saw that documentary.
So that polished image, and I think that's what it is.
Which is so great, by the way, for each person to get. You don't have to be a polished image. Like people trick themselves and like, I can't let anyone know this about me. It's like people will like you more if you start to show that.
Well, look what's happening now in the fashion world. Like before, when we were coming up, the Victoria's Secrets, the supermodel, the Cindy Crawfords, the Naomi Campbells, everyone was perfect all the time. And women specifically, and now it's even with guys. Guys are like, if I don't have a 6-pack, I'm worthless. but I don't look like these guys that are just chiseled all the time.
Right.
And as I've gotten older, you look at it and you're like, you know how hard it is to maintain that? They maintain that for the moment that they're on screen, and then they eat a pizza and they're like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
Because it's not humanly possible to maintain that body fat.
Right.
It's not.
And in that same realm, it's not possible to maintain an emotional image of perfection.
Right.
You know, that you are just so great and you've got your stuff together. It's like, I want to emphasize everyone is great, but could you be great because you exist versus what you're presenting? If you're presenting how big your house is and those things, that's nice, but has nothing to do with you. You know, it's like, can you just know that you're loved as a screw up? That's been one of the biggest elements of the last 5 years of my teaching. When 2020 started, I started realizing we have so much stuff inside that is scared to be a failure, because you're tricking yourself into, I'm not loved unless I'm not a failure. But there's a thing that I started creating. I was working with a client a week ago probably, and I started creating something about this. I said, what's your biggest fear? And she said, to not be understood. And I said, okay, if you're not understood by other people, what happens? And she says, well, then I'm not liked. And then I said this. I said, okay, so your biggest fear isn't being not understood. It's not being liked. And then I said, what happens if you're not liked? And she said, then I'm alone. And I said, okay, then your biggest fear isn't not being liked. Because the ego likes to separate it. It goes, oh, I have a big fear of being alone. But you don't remember, oh, when I was a child, I was alone and a bad thing happened to me. You don't want that thing. So the ego kind of pushes it away and goes, I'm going to keep it distracting so you never hit this. Does this make sense so far?
Because it's protecting you. Don't forget, it's protecting you.
It's protecting you. So her biggest fear was being alone. And I said, so what happens if you're alone? And she says, then I'm not loved. And I said, okay, you don't have a fear of being alone. You have a fear of not being loved. And I said, and your problem is you believe the only way that you're loved is through humans with egos. I offered something called, that I'm bringing into my teachings now, the spiritual bank account. That when we do our truest self, when we are meditating, when we connect, when we sit in nature, imagine you're making a deposit to feel that you're loved. And you're upping your loved. The more your spiritual bank account grows, that you get that you're loved, the more that all your fears dissolve. Because if you get that you're loved, you're not scared of being alone. You're not scared of not being understood. You're not scared of being judged. You're not scared of being broke. Yet, ironically, this also makes those things abundant. The more you work on yourself. So like I meditate 2 hours every morning. And I can only go on any online thing of scrolling, of looking even at my YouTube comments, of monitoring things in my life between 1 and 2 p.m. I've made this restriction, and all of a sudden I'm feeling so much more love because I'm not checking all that and how I am in status. I'm just finding God's going, let's purge that guy that cares so much about that and make him feel totally loved. So the more you are upping your spiritual bank account through actively connecting to God, the more your fears just fall. And so do your addiction, so do all these other things. So withdrawal is when you don't follow your heart, or you do something that's just numbingly, nothing. That's a withdrawal. And life, when we were born, decided to empty out our spiritual bank accounts and make it normal for us to live with the void of the lie that we're not loved. It is just an insane lie that we are addicted to unconsciously because we've now learned to manage life unloved. Does that make sense?
Of course it does.
And so now we've created an ego that literally is based on the idea that it's not loved. And if you actually realize you're loved, the ego dies. So the more we connect to God, the more that the spiritual bank account grows, the more that the egoic self that has learned how to maneuver life from I'm not loved dissolves. So to me, this is what we're about. And that love is for you even in your imperfection, in your I'm a failure, in your what if I'm not enough, in your I've made mistakes, in your regret, in your guilt. It transcends the guilt. Right? So I've been meditating 2 hours a day and I'm finding guilt comes up or resentment or feeling unseen. And it turns into tears because I've created a big enough portal and a big enough space of love. Now that I've become that egoic construct no longer serves me and it dissolves out my tears. That's how I get rid of it. Isn't that crazy?
It's amazing.
And
It's
so
amazing.
I'm all about this year showing people how to raise their spiritual bank account. That's what I'm about.
It's beautiful. That's a beautiful tool that you've come up with.
That's the preview clip.
That's a preview clip of it. So one thing I've noticed as well as the younger generations coming up behind us, they're like my kids when they watch a Hollywood movie,
Yeah.
they're not drawn to that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
They never were. They're not drawn to those as much. Like I forward, like you got to watch Goonies.
Yeah.
You got to watch.
Chunk was my lawyer,
Chunk.
by the way, in the past.
Was he?
Yeah.
Chunk became a lawyer.
Yeah.
That's right.
Jeff, I'm blanking on his name. He was my lawyer like in 2002 or something.
Chunk's
He's such a
Chunk.
sweet guy.
Chunk is a lawyer now.
Yeah.
That's true. I let him see Love Actually for the first time.
Yeah.
This Christmas, and like third best Christmas of all time. After Elf and like a couple Home Alone or something. They're like, it's so amazing. But they are not drawn to that kind of content anymore. Maybe some of the older
Well, remember
stuff.
in the 80s when someone would show us the 50s?
Oh, he'd be like,
Look, you, I've always loved you, please. And the
see?
closed mouth kiss.
See?
Because I love you. Closed mouth.
they don't
and then a
connect.
circle goes like this on him. Like, that looked like crap to us.
Right. It actually did. It
Yeah.
did. But I think that on a level of real, like they're more connected with real. Like YouTube is God.
Yeah.
That's where they watch everything. I'll walk in and I'll watch something that they're seeing, and it's some kid doing something stupid.
Yeah.
A prank or
Yeah.
and they are dying.
Right.
Dying. And I'm like, is
I know.
this what
Dude, we're our parents.
I mean, are we turning into
Yeah.
I'm a little bit hipper than my parents were when I was their age. I hope being around me. We're Gen X kids, so we were exposed to a lot more
Yeah.
than our parents were. I'm hoping I'm pretty, cool and understand media and, I'm like, oh yeah, Mr. Beast. I understand who that is. And,
Yeah.
and all this. And I understand what they're doing. But sometimes I just don't get it.
Yeah.
It's so far beyond what resonates with me.
Yeah.
But for them, it's their new thing.
It's that ADD. And by the way, it's also full of imperfections and full of.
That's the point. That's my point.
Yeah.
Like we grew up with everything being perfect, everyone
Yeah.
looking muscular and
Yeah.
perfect and perfect this or perfect. Unattainable.
Yes.
Completely unobtainable. I mean, I had posters of Arnold and John Claude in my room when I was in high school.
Yeah.
Because that was the goal. Like, oh, dude, that guy.
And I had a Lamborghini Trapper Keeper.
Yes.
Yes.
Trapper
By the
Keeper.
way, I think we've had 2 Trapper Keeper references in 2 podcasts.
I think we have the
Yeah.
Trapper Keeper. Yes, we had those because those were the ideals.
Right.
But then we started realizing, like, I don't think I have Arnold's genetics.
Right.
I don't think, however hard I ever work out.
But no matter how much
never gonna
those movies meant to us, it is weird to think we are like our parents, because I can picture watching a Steve Martin movie in the 80s and my dad being like, I'll show you a real movie. Let me show you. And it's like Humanoids from the Deep or Legend of Sinbad, like some 60s or 70s, or we're going to watch Patton. Like
geez.
George C. Scott Patton, which I'm not saying isn't good, but I'm just like,
It's different.
It's just, it's just, you hear the pops and the and everything.
There's things in that are timeless. There are films that, like, I could watch Casablanca today. It's timeless.
Is it weird I haven't seen it?
Probably.
Yeah.
It's a thing. You should probably watch it.
But I've seen other things.
That's
Is that
fine.
Cool.
Like I know this is sacrilege, but I don't like Citizen Kane. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think it's boring as hell. I respect it. I respect what it did, all that kind of stuff, but it just doesn't resonate with me.
Yeah.
But The Godfather I can watch and go,
Yeah,
oh,
totally.
I can get that. I'm waiting for the day that I can show Shawshank Redemption to my kids.
Yeah.
And
And that they cannot like that.
And they cannot like that and
Yeah.
break my heart.
Yeah.
Then I'll follow it up with The Green Mile,
Right.
and they could break my
They
heart
cannot
again.
like that.
Exactly. But I'm curious to see how it's going to resonate, because a film like Shawshank really cuts through a lot of crap, because it's so, in my opinion, the most perfect film ever made.
Yeah.
One of the most.
It's just amazing.
I remember it cut through the crap of 1994 Alex, who thought Jean-Claude Van Damme and Steven Seagal were the greatest actors of all time.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's where I was back
Wow.
then. And it cut through that, and my friends who were complete knuckleheads. And they're like, wow, that was
Yeah.
really good. I'm
Where do you
curious.
think your kids, when your kids grow up,
Yeah.
right? Our kids grow up, and then their kids what are they watching? Like if it's from Back to the Future to YouTube, like what's it going to be? It's just be 1
AI.
second clips. Like
It's AI.
your kids will be like, that's not a show. Let me show you YouTube fail compilations or just this, and then their kids are just like, bing, 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 like just like watching the fastest.
They don't
pace
even watch
that they
anymore. It's already in their head because
Right.
it's directly Neuralinked in.
Right. You're just like, that's not a movie. Let me
What are
show
you doing?
you YouTube.
I'm watching a movie right now, Dad.
And then when those kids grow up, their kids are just like, and then their parents are like, that's not a show. You need to watch. But those kids are like, it's just a quicker pace.
We're all turning into what are those the creatures from Time Machine are?
Right.
When they go like 3,000 years into the future or
Oh,
something
yeah,
like that.
that's
The mole people.
And
Eventually,
just our grandkids will be like, that's not a show. You need to watch. And then their parents, your kids, are like, that's not a show. Watch a longer, nice 3-minute YouTube video. And
3 minutes.
Yeah, you know what? That's too much for them, right? Like,
Can you imagine them watching like
oh yeah, that they're
Titanic?
like 3 minutes. Yeah,
Titanic? Can you imagine watching
yeah.
Titanic?
They're like, "Ugh, this is nothing.
This is insane.
Yeah.
Do you also believe that a lot of the imagery that we grew up with, the violence, I mean, we literally are entertained by human beings killing each other.
Yeah.
I mean,
Dude, even like an older sitcom like Roseanne has so much yelling at each other.
oh my God.
That I didn't realize was
the
normal
honeymooners.
for me to see.
Look at the honeymooners, remember?
Yes, one of these
To
days.
the moon, Alice.
Yeah,
Like,
the show is literally
it was domestic
him
violence.
saying,
I wouldn't beat you.
wouldn't that be weird if there was an episode where it happened? Like,
Like he actually hit her.
he just does it, and she's just on the ground, and then the circle just da 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 da. He did it.
He did it finally. She went to the moon.
Yeah, it's
That's
just the
horrible.
worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, it's funny how look at All in the Family. You watch something like that
Yeah.
back in the day, what is happening? But all these images that we're seeing now, I don't know about you, but I can't really digest it as much. Like ultra violence now for me doesn't really do it.
No.
Like I can't if I like a good thriller, I like a good action movie. But when it starts getting a little too violent, I'm like, I'll just fast forward through it.
Not that this is the word, but David Hawkins says watching a movie drops you from whatever frequency you're at to like a 150. So
Unless it's Shawshank, obviously.
unless it's yeah, he said that before.
He said that right before.
said,
Yes,
yeah.
of course.
But I do think there's something to I just think we're wanting. I think
we want
overall
more.
we want to know what we are now. I think that it's hard to find a movie that can really do that. I think that a lot of people are starting to really seek their soul, and mindless entertainment doesn't do it anymore.
Conscious entertainment is what the future is.
Conscious entertainment. And I bet even one point that won't work. I bet like conscious entertainment will be so helpful, and then at one point,
Oh, no, absolutely.
we're gonna let go of everything and just direct to God.
There will be a point in the future where if there's a video clip of this show somewhere, of this
Yeah.
of this interview
Yeah.
that lives on the cloud somewhere, and someone finds it 100 years from now, or
Right.
150 years from now, and they're watching this as an oddity,
Right.
and they look at it and they'll go, "My God, they had to have these kind of conversations to talk. They didn't understand this
Yeah.
basic stuff." I think we'll be an oddity.
Yeah.
Like this will. It is absolutely needed right now.
Well, I mean, and which is just the biggest point, which everyone should always remember with everything you're feeling. Everything's passing, which, by the way, is why it's so beautiful. I have realized something so big. A lot of people, they are scared to love fully because they might lose a person, right?
Right.
I love fully because I know everything is temporary. The idea that my daughter and I at one point won't exist
Right.
makes me, and at one point won't even be a memory. At one point will be irrelevant in all of the universe probably. Makes me want to spend time with her. It makes me want to love her.
Enjoy this ride. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And my beautiful fiance, Amber, and I are so close. And I think that part of the spiritual journey is getting, yeah, all of this is passing, so I'm in fully. And I think that the ego goes, I can't go in fully because everything's passing, or I'm scared that I'll lose you. And the ego's about protection, so it doesn't enter and fully feel love. It doesn't feel real relationships. It doesn't feel magic. It just is about survival. So I don't want to feel I'm just going to kind of like hold on to my stuff and look through my phone and just feel safe in the world, but I'm not going to live. And that's the doc in that analogy earlier. And to me, it's because everything is temporary that I have to live all the way and that there's nothing to lose. There really isn't when you start to get everything, because you're going to lose everything. So you might as well embrace you're going to lose everything and then be free. And you won't believe how much longer you'll probably live by living so freely versus so protectedly, because people that live protected don't live. They're locking their doors in 9 different ways and all about security so they can stay in their house and watch TV and have a life they're not living.
That's an illusion.
And you could also live, and it doesn't necessarily have to mean rock climbing and sailboarding and all the stuff you see in herpes commercials. It's the first time I saw that, I was like, man, I wish I had herpes. You get to do so much fun stuff. They have these people rock climbing and sailboarding.
These drug commercials, how they're legal is beyond me.
And so I got herpes, and it's nothing like that at all. It just burns when I pee, which I guess is kind of summery, if that's what they mean. And then the songs are happy, and the herpes, it's a brand new day, herpes. It's not a brand new day.
Take this pill.
It's every 6 months, I heard, because I have a friend that's not me. But if it's for herpes, they should use Usher's Let It Burn.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
Like, that would make more sense.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. Right. It's just a weird. Yeah.
So, Kyle, man, I got to ask you, where do you think we're going to be in this next 5 years?
I think that we are going to be taken to a place that to the ego is horrifying because it will be death to the ego, but to our soul will be so freeing. I think that we are being put in a situation of letting go, letting go, letting go. Letting go of what you feel. Oh, this could happen. Let go of that. Can you love that? Let go of they might not like you. Okay, can you love that? Everyone could blah, blah, blah. You could be totally broke. Can you love that? That doesn't mean it'll happen, but I think that everything that's scary is inside of us, and it has to come out because it's not true. So there's 2 ways it can come out. You can listen to what's inside, what your deepest fears are, hear them and let it come to light, cry it out. Or you can repress it and life will start to make it happen. Mm-hmm. Life will go, oh, that's your biggest fear? Well, we're going to make it happen. Because you haven't healed the one who says that can't happen. So you're playing a false god. So what I believe is that we're going to be removed of our fear. And if you participate with it, it'll be a pleasant experience. And if you don't, and you keep identifying as the fear, it'll be really difficult because you're identified as something separate from God. That's why I also love Course in Miracles, as I heard that guest earlier. It's like Course in Miracles has an aspect of a Jesus that is you are whole and loving and magical. And we've created with the ego a false separate God that says, I'm what we have to protect, and my image and my story and my everything. Mm-hmm. And it's separate from this God. And as it says in Course, nothing real can really be threatened. And we're here to merge with that while also still maintaining a major level of space holding for the ego that we have developed. So it's not like we just, whitewash this ego and just go, yeah, everything's perfect. It's like that means integration. That means crying. That means feeling those dark feelings. And they will be seen. And at one point after they're alchemized, you will realize they weren't even true. And then the world will mirror what you heal. And you'll start to, I think that it's going to go amazingly. But I think there's a lot of people on the planet that have no idea about this. And if you understand what's going on, this could be an amazing time. And if you don't, you're just kind of going with the motions and grabbing more addictions to cover it up, it's going to be hard. And or you might go because you're so addicted, So
it's going to shake things up in a very big way where we're going.
Oh my God.
It's going to shake it up in a way that we've never seen.
Yeah. We're in a time that is like Remember in the 80s, or even seems like the 50s, people would just go, oh, yeah, I know what's coming. Like, I've been at my job. It'll just be more of that job, more of my wife, more of this life, right? We now can really say, I mean, you're asking that question.
No idea.
Because we really don't know, which means there's no us that knew, which means we're in surrender. Because it was normal for us to always know what was coming. You know, I can see the bank account's good enough. I can see the career, right? Now, we're surrendering our constant, I know what's coming, but we're trading it for God take over. And that is a trade I would happily make, because I would rather not know what's going on, but know that I'm held, and not know what it looks like and not try to control what it looks like, than be the one that has to run everything and be a control freak that is separate, that wants to feel separate from source, that he runs it so that he doesn't have to show his real wounds and all that stuff. So I think it'll be an amazing time for the people participating. I think it'll be a hard time for the people that won't. And this could be that two earth thing you're talking about, you know, that we've had, I've heard your guests talk about this earth split thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that'll look like. I'm not saying I'm signed up for that, but we live in a time where the contrasts are so nuts that...
Right. It's like kind of like, well, groups will go with this reality and another group will go with that reality. Because it's just like right now in this, where we're at right now, there's people who have a completely different scope of what reality is.
Right.
And their reality, they've built it. And there's another group that's like, you know, there's the people who want to live in the past and do what we have always done. And there's a group that wants to move forward and evolve. They're not going to coexist in the same reality.
Yeah.
They're just not.
You're either holding on or letting go in this time.
Absolutely. And what I find fascinating is that everyone's going to go through it. It's truly up to you on how you do it.
Right.
And like you could fight it and it's going to be a rough ride.
Right.
Or you can embrace it, deal with it, go with it, do the inner work, and come out the other end a better person. But this is happening.
Yeah. Think of 2025 as everyone just took a year-long ayahuasca. Mm-hmm. And it'll probably be bigger next year. You know?
Well, it's kind of like what happened in 2020.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole world stopped.
Yeah.
We were all forced to do inner work. It really shook up the world.
Every pattern was broken. You could just travel or go to the restaurant or go to a store and do that same people pleasing. Oh, hey, good to see you. Now you got this on. You don't have to, nothing.
It was crazy.
I don't see anyone.
It was crazy.
Yeah, and you're inward in the house. It was a big meditation. Now that energy's faster. That light is so bright now.
Right.
I'm really excited for it. Honestly, yeah.
I am too.
I like the ocean more than the dock.
It's scarier but more fun, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a little scary, but it's a little bit more fun because like you said, we're not going to be here forever.
We're here to live.
We're here to live, man.
Yeah.
Kyle, it's always been a pleasure having you on, sir. I'm so grateful to have your amazing content on Next Level Soul TV. Everyone listening, do yourself a favor. Watch some of Love Rising, Limitation Game, The Illusion of Money. These are things that feed the soul. So I really appreciate you doing that. And where can people find out more about you and this amazing work you're doing?
Well, there is KyleCease.com. There's absolutely everything. I'm sorry, that's... Yeah, absolutely everything. I thought I was plugging yours that you just said. Absolutely everything.tv. And if they want to get my meditation bundle that we're selling so many of and people are writing us going, I like this because you're participating with it and actually doing it versus just its content. Mm-hmm. So the meditation bundle, they can go to kylecease.com/meditations. Remember, it's a bundle of 5 meditations. We're talking health, relationships, releasing, a general meditation, and I can't remember the other one. But people are writing us like this one affected me so much, and they go to kylecease.com/meditations, and it's $20. I promise you will flip when you get it. People are writing us like these are so good. We worked on them for 4 months, and it's barely even a profit because we worked on them for 4 months and put the stuff together. But please check that out. It would be awesome. And go to nextlevelsoul.tv, watch my journey, check out The Illusion of Money, check out the stuff on there, Love Rising, then coming soon, Limitation Game.
Yep. And I'm looking forward to seeing you at the Ascension Conference, man.
I can't wait. I'm honored to be with you, man.
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be on March 28th through the 30th here in Austin. It's our first live event, and I would think of nobody else to have on our first live event than you. And if you don't want to prepare, that's fine. You could just show up and let's see what happens.
Oh yeah, no. There's literally about 30 years now. I mean, I started stand-up at 12. I was a working comic at 15. I'm 47 now. So 32 years of talking in the moment, in a riff, and it coming through better and better. So I'm not worried about living in the moment, and the audience doesn't need to too. There's a lot of experience. There's still a lot of hours logged, and a lot of
You got the 10,000 hours in already?
I bet there's 20. Yeah, it's awesome.
Kyle, my friend, it's such a pleasure knowing you, an honor knowing you, an honor working with you, and having you on the show and everything that you do, brother. I appreciate you helping awaken this planet, man. Thank you.
Same here, brother. It's fun becoming friends with you too, more and more as we do this. So lots of love, brother, and congrats on so much great stuff here, and always here when you need me.
Thanks for watching. Click on one of the videos below to continue your journey, and don't forget to subscribe.